Our fundamental principle and our proposition as an agency is one of brutal simplicity of thought. That's a global proposition, and it's one that's had enormous traction in the local market. And what it talks to is the concept of that it's easier to complicate than it is to simplify. And that we want to behave and look for ideas that cut through the flim flam, is what Saatchi calls it, to get to the nub of the thinking. Brutal simplicity of thought is a strategic tool that we use. We talk about developing a brutally simple thought and motivating proposition, but equally it's a behavior in the agency. We challenge ourselves daily to try and simplify our processes, simplify the way that we're working, simplify the way that we communicate. And equally we use the language with clients to say, you know, how can we look at this problem differently to simplify it? I suppose the danger is that you start thinking about brutally simple thinking, and that's not the intention at all. Certainly we don't want to be brutal or simple, but sometimes it does take a little bit of brutality to cut through and get to the nub of what we're wanting to say, or the idea that we're wanting to communicate. We also don't want simple thinking. So brutal simplicity of thought certainly doesn't intend for the outcome to be simplified, but the process in which we use to get there, and the behaviors that we try and manifest in our organization are those of simplicity. Black and white are our colors, and we try and be black and white in the way that we treat one another and the way that we communicate. Both Robert and I and the strategy team come from a direct marketing and a CRM background. I have analytics as a background, so when we say we put the customer at the center, we truly mean that. And often, as we spoke to earlier, we actually start with analytics, what we know and then what we think. That does not mean by any means that we don't view the brand as important. Of course, the brand is ultimately where the work manifests, but we always want to start with an understanding of customer behavior. We often ask our clients questions that they haven't been asked before regarding frequency of shop, basket size, what behavior are you trying to impact? How is that customer currently behaving? Is it a new customer you're looking for, an old one that you want to speak to? Those kind of basic questions that talk to the customer first and then say, okay, now what is the role of the brand in that customer's life? So I suppose we've forced customer into the center because too many other agencies are putting brand in the center, then around the circle are all the touch points that the brand might interact with, and the customer isn't present.